Hey guys, my name is Nicole Hemphill, and welcome to another episode of Silence in the Backcourt. Guys, today I have an amazing guest with me. You want to talk about someone that knows ball? Dorie Harrison is someone that knows ball and plays it, and she's amazing. And Dorie, how are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm so happy to be with you guys. How you doing, Nicole?
I'm doing so well, Dorie. Thank you so much for making the time to be on this. I know we've talked about this quite often, and I'm so glad that we're finally making it happen.
Yes, me too. I'm glad we're here. Let's get into it.
Yes. Okay. So, Dorie, we met through college basketball. And let me tell you, for those of y'all listening, Dorie's an incredible basketball player, but also human being. Whenever I transferred mid semester to this school, and Dorie really kind of adopted me. And I felt really, really insecure just with the environment. And Dorie really helped me through it. And Dorie and I were playing the same position, but she never made me feel like we were like malicious towards one another. Like we were competing, but like it wasn't in a bad way, right? Like it's very, very healthy dynamic. And we were one of the few people of color on our team. And so Dorie always made me feel like welcomed and loved, and just like we had a really good community. So that's one of the many reasons why I love Dorie. So like I said, welcome. And Dorie, can you tell me some about your sports background? Like when did you start playing?
Yeah, so basketball is, I would say basketball is my redheaded stepchild. Like I love it so much. And I feel like it's come into my life since a very, very young age. Like in my family, like I'm the youngest of 12, and all of my family and my parents played sports. And basketball was never just like a sport in my family, but it was more of like a love language, like even as a kid, I didn't really know that I love competition, I didn't just love competing, but I just loved becoming. I love being in the drive with my siblings and like going inside with a scratch on my knee and just like feeling like, I don't know, I just got better. And throughout my experience, basketball has become a vehicle for me. And I say this analogy all the time to people: basketball is my vehicle. When you have a vehicle, like you have to take care of the engine, you have to take care of the gas. You have to make sure that vehicle keeps you on the road. But you can do whatever you want inside that vehicle. Some people eat when they're driving, and those things, basketball is my vehicle, and the things I do inside of the vehicle are, the things that I'm also passionate about, which is makeup and creativity and, advocacy and, mental health, like all these things that are really important to me. They get driven further down the road because of the vehicle. And I love basketball for everything the game has given to me. And like, it's taught me discipline, it's taught me resilience, like it's taught me just confidence. And it brought me back to my faith, actually, because, and growing up, I was like a super, super nerd. Like I didn't start playing basketball until like my freshman year of high school, or like I guess my eighth grade summer going into, I'd never really did basketball competitively. So I was playing the saxophone and, winning
Okay.
spelling bees. And that's one thing me and Nicole have in common. Like, I feel like we've always nurtured or been identified with like the nerd side of us. You know what I mean? Like very, very much value our intelligence, very much value like being well-rounded, being educated, being known, but also it's like there's this fierceness and competitive nature that we got to express through basketball. So I started playing basketball, a very late bloomer, and then within like 2-3 years in high school, just working my butt off, like up at 5 a.m. every morning, running on the track. Like I committed to Kentucky and Lexington. And so I was there for a couple years, and I ended up transferring. And this is always like the part of my story where there's moments in your life where you just wish you could go back and tell yourself, don't do that.
Yeah.
Like
All the time.
this was one of those moments. But I've over the years I've had to like really just take that perspective away and like just own it, because looking back, hindsight's 2020. So like looking back, I
Yeah.
can see God's hand on it. And going to Lipscomb was actually the best thing for my faith, but not necessarily the best thing for my basketball career,
Yeah.
So, and I mean, great things came of it. Like obviously you and I met, and I was able to really bloom and invest into like my makeup creativity side of things, which was amazing. But I just feel like now I'm at a point now that I've restarted my pro career. This is my second year professional, going into my third year, and it's been amazing. I've won a championship in Chile. I've been a part of Athletes Unlimited for 3 years. I'm now sitting on the PEC board, helping structure and make decisions within the organization. And I just feel like it goes to show that like we are our own, with God's help, we can reclaim our narrative. You know what I mean? And there's no period at the end of the sentence. No man has that power to put a period at the end of your sentence.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree with you. Like you control who you are, and you can't let somebody else have that power over you. And I agree. I know you're saying, yeah, hindsight is 2020, and I can see how Lipscomb didn't necessarily help too much, but like it helped make us better characters, like character building. And 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 faith ways, I agree. Like I was baptized on my graduation day in the fountain at Lipscomb, and those kinds of moments are something I will never take for granted. Like I found a new step in my faith as well, and it was a sense of renewal and kind of figuring out who I wanted to be, and then taking that forward and trying to live and the vision that I kind of saw for myself. So hey, I like that. I like that a lot. But I'm gonna backtrack just a little bit. So like, what was the defining moment for you that made you feel like, okay, I want to play in college?
In college,
Yes.
that was more so like, if I'm being honest, like a logistic decision of my family, because I'm the youngest of 12. Like there's 12 of us, and every single one of us got a college scholarship, like athletically or academically. And so my parents, obviously, who can afford 12 college tuitions, let alone one. So my sister sat me down. My two sisters, one of them played volleyball and one of them played basketball, and they both were going to Tennessee. And they were like, okay, Dorie, we love you, and we love that you love a saxophone. We're going to go to college. So you get to choose. You get to choose basketball, you get to choose volleyball. And so I chose basketball because I heard there was more money in it. That's why I chose it.
Hey,
and so, and that's, and so, but I feel like what seemed like a haphazard decision turned into such like it unlocked such a fire in me that I didn't know that I had, and I really needed, like, basketball is the ultimate like life coach. And I know that sounds so cliche and people say it all the time, but it really has helped me like navigate adversity. It helps to navigate like perseverance. Like when I feel as if like, or someone thinks I can't do something, or I think I can't do something, I have this like driving me to just prove myself right and prove other people wrong. And it's never really done me wrong. And I feel like basketball is it became like a safe space for me to be able to express my nuance. I feel like something I'm going through right now and just learning in life is like, I've always been described as like a very like nice person, and I feel like that identity carried over into basketball, and it was hindering me from reaching levels that I needed to reach. Like I had to respectively become an asshole. You know what I mean? Not really an asshole, but I had to tap into all of my emotions, whether it be frustration, anger, like focus or anything, to allow myself to be free on the court when I was so boxed into just like being this like, honest competitor and like a good sport. And I'm still all those things, but it helped me be well-rounded and to know that there's power in all parts of you, even the parts that are like negatively associated or, looked down upon. One thing I really love about you, Nicole, is like when we met, you were always so you didn't shy away from like your opinions and your position on things and like how you felt and how you saw the world, you know. And I love that
Mhm.
about you, and you're still that way today, which is why you're going to be an amazing lawyer. So I feel like it's easy to do those things in passing or in relationship because you're able to talk and, you know, converse and exchange, you know, dialects, exchange information, like perspectives, all those things. But when you get on the court, your language is your body, you know, your language is like your move, your language and your position, or your like your point is like how you maneuver. And I feel like I've been able to start talking in basketball, if that makes any sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, you are a nice person, but yeah, I can understand how like you have to tap into being an asshole. I mean, I think a part of a part of like being able to um it's like a coming of age thing, like not
Hmm.
like becoming less afraid of being who you are, even if that's
Hmm.
being interpreted as being an asshole. Like it's not
Right.
your job to be put into a box. Other people try
Hmm.
to put you in a box to control you. And so yeah, if I seem like an asshole because I'm expanding my box by curating my narrative and being who I am and not being afraid to share my thoughts and opinions and like what I feel is up, like that makes me an asshole. Okay. Like,
Hmm.
that's just who I am. And so, I completely understand what you're saying. And yeah, you're like you said, your body is your vehicle. Your basketball has
Hmm.
been your vehicle, and the language that your vehicle is speaking is with your body.
Hmm.
So, no, that's really special. And I have never heard that analogy before, like using basketball as a vehicle. Like it's good. It takes you places. Like
It takes you places. You can go
it's,
wherever you want in a car. You can go
yes.
except over water, but
Yes. Okay. Dorie, you've given me like wonderful answers. Oh my goodness. Okay. So at what point in college, right?
Mhm.
That you just did you decide like, okay, I want to do this professionally. So we went from high school, like, okay,
Mhm.
logistics, let's get a scholarship, go basketball, no more saxophone. But then college, that's a really big step of, okay, I can do this and professionally.
Yeah.
What made you want to do this
I
in
think
professional?
I'm really grateful to have like a lot of great examples and people in my life that have shown me, you know, um, what's possible. Um, my sister went on played at Tennessee and went on to get drafted in the WNBA, and she's still playing to this day. And I feel that I wanted to follow in that pathway, but also I didn't take the time to. At the time, I wasn't aware of the fullness of myself, which was like I had this fierce basketball competitive side of me, which I loved, and I also had this insane passion for like beauty and makeup and fashion. And you know, my one of my other sisters, Danielle, um, God rest her soul, she was a makeup artist, and she in high school she taught me how to do makeup. Like she like gave me a mascara wand before one of my dances, and I was like, "This is makeup," and it was like it blew my mind. It really blew
Yeah.
my mind about the feeling that she gave me was one of like confidence and beauty and like um empowerment, you know. And so I really got into makeup and like artistry and things like that. And so but I was also really pouring into investing in basketball, which I knew would be my vehicle. So I in terms of when it came to college, I looked towards my sister Isabel's example, and she's an amazing sister and athlete and just all around person. And she's her expertise and just down to earthness has been such a beaming light, like a guided path. If that makes any
Yeah.
sense. And it's been amazing, and I took heed in like anything she said, you know, because I love my family, I love my siblings, and you know they are amazing people. So I feel as if I was following this lighted pathway, but I just felt like things along the way were pulling me. So I decided like it wasn't so clear and cut for me, and I had to enter this call of like this creative side. So I started. I was like doing makeup casually, like on my teammates and things like that. And then like things really started to pick up. Like I would be like, I was at Kentucky and like someone asked me to do like their rush sorority girls and things like that. And I had such a good time. And I started to consider what that would look like. Um, and so basketball in college was it's a no brainer for me because I wanted to know like where this could take me. And Kentucky was such a good um, starting point for me. And I really do, still to this day, I love my teammates that I've made there and we're still in contact and all those things. But Kentucky really showed me like what I was capable of, you know. I got SEC Freshman of the Week. I was always in the honor roll, and things really were going well. And then my sister Danielle, who taught me makeup, she ended up passing away from lupus during the same time. So I was going into this new season of like Kentucky and fresh start, but I was also I'm familiar with like the heaviness of grief and heaviness of, you know, having such a tight knit family. And like she was like our glue, and then she was just gone.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why, me and my family are really big advocates for lupus, autoimmune disorders, mental health, all those things, because all those are such driving factors into how people live their lives and are able to live their lives. So for me, like what I wish I knew going into college is that one, your coach's opinion of you is not your identity, and really people can only see you as much as they have seen and grown themselves. There were seasons that I thought my worth rose or fell based on like minutes or stats and things like that. And all those things were fine and dandy. But I think as a player, you just want to know someone believes in you. You want to know like the person that you're being coached by is competent. You want to believe that they have your best interest in mind, and you want to believe that you want to have trust. Because when you step on the court, it's like you have to trust their game plan, and they have to trust you to execute. And looking back, I wish I understood that sooner. That confidence built on external validation is always fragile, and it'll crumble because that foundation is not solid, and that my identity is rooted in Christ, and that's why I feel that Lipscomb was not an accident, because outside of basketball, I was able to grow tremendously in my faith. And I feel like that's why that is, God has continued to have his hand on my life and through basketball. And I believe like of both colleges I've been to, I'm the only other active player for both of my rosters from Kentucky and Lipscomb. And so I feel like, I wish that I knew that the people's opinions on you can only take you so far, and it's the biggest trap. It's the biggest trap. It's the biggest misconception that you feel like when you go into college and you're being recruited and excited and you're going on all these visits, it's like people are promising you everything. They're promising you the world. They're promising you all this playing time. They're promising all this exposure. And now they're promising money. And God knows if I had that offer, where I would have chose, girl. But it's just important that you know who you are first, and like don't take the bait.
Yeah. I like everything that you just said. I mean, identity was massive for me too.
Mm-hmm.
And Lipscomb wasn't a mistake for me either. I got to learn a whole lot about myself and grow in my faith. And I was a part of BSU with you, Miss Madam President, right? And you would kill it whenever we'd have chapel, and I love BSU chapel, and so I felt like I was growing in my faith with you. I feel like you're a part of my testimony when it comes to that. So thank you.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too. I love you too. But going back to identity, and I'm really glad that you. Which like I didn't know you were musically talented. That's cool too. So like even if you're not into it now, and that was still a part of you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with makeup, and then with basketball, you're going to show like there's always been more to you, and your faith. There's always been more to you than just basketball. And I think a lot of the time, a lot of athletes feel like their whole life is just their sport, because like we grow up
Yeah.
playing these sports, and they become our whole world. And a lot of, you get more atta girls whenever you're performing, you get more external validation, of course, whenever you're playing well and your output's good. But then
Hmm.
if you go through slumps, which everybody does, or you're going through like a mental depression or something's going on to where you're not actively producing as much as before, you kind of feel like your worth is lowering because you're no longer getting
Hmm.
that outside validation. So I love how
Hmm.
you said that your identity was rooted in Christ, and your
Hmm.
identity was rooted in something that was not going to go anywhere, right?
Hmm.
Like I think that's a very beautiful thing. Do you have advice for somebody else that could be feeling that their whole identity is wrapped up in their sport?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, like you said, I think athletes get in trouble when their entire identity is performance and those stat lines and what you again can produce. Because if you're only as valuable as your last game, you'll be constantly chasing validation. It'll be constant, and it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough, and that goes with money, that goes with career, that goes with anything. Like I was in Chile last winter in like October, and I had a was coming off Mexico, and I had a bum ankle, and the team, they were like, we don't care, we still just want you to come play for the playoffs. So I was like trying my best to like produce, but I really wasn't 100% with my ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like so frustrated because I know what I can do, and I feel like I was so limited by my ankle. And I was
Mm-hmm.
just like really putting a lot of pressure on myself to um to just contribute. And I feel like it's another thing. That's another trait in a lot of people who have great families and who are great partners and friends, is that their core motivations, they want to help. They want to contribute. They want to, you know what I mean? And I feel
Yeah.
like that's where a lot of my teamwork and my teamwork principles come from. So I'm in Chile, like we're winning, but I'm barely getting a double double. I'm like getting 10 and 10, like 11 and 12. And like I'm after every game, I'm like limping. So there was this one game, and it's like we needed to beat this team to get into the playoffs. And I I told them I took a diclofenac shot, like a pain shot.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like it's
Is
like
that like a
stronger.
steroid?
Yes, it helps with pain.
Okay.
And um maybe I shouldn't have said that. I don't know.
It's,
I was
it's
like,
okay.
the point is, like, I strapped up my body the best I could
Yeah.
to feel
Yeah.
okay.
That's
Like
what
I
we did.
was
Hey, I was taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen before every practice. I'm fearful of what my kidneys look like. It's not fine, but like we got to do what we got to do.
we gotta do what we gotta do. I got that shot in my glute, and I got my ankle taped tight, and then I had a brace on top of it.
Can't even feel your feet.
Girl.
I know.
And then I went on to win the game. I dropped 35 points, my career
Love it.
high, and we entered the playoffs and had a really good run. So I say that to say, you really, I know this sounds crazy, but you can have all the great intentions and all the preparation before each game to like score a million points and do this and do that, but like you really cannot control that. You cannot control if the ball goes in or not. You can only control literally the things that you can control. So when you feel that your identity is in your performance and like the output and the outcome, I just want you to know there are stories like mine that I was able to, one, build a career off my talent, but build a career off of the ways that I impact in other ways. I one thing about my game is I sprint the floor really hard. People hate guarding me because they have to chase me around the court all day and they get tired, you
Yeah.
know? So like making that a part of your game, intangibles, things that people can't guard or touch, it makes you harder to guard, are really important to lock in on. If you're very smart, you should dwell and like really invest in getting your basketball IQ to the top. You'll have to do less work if you just can think two steps ahead of your defender. You can think two steps above the defense and the offense. It'll take you so much further. and be able to score a step back three. You know what I mean? Like there
Right.
are other ways that you can invest in your game that make you valuable as a player, other than just being um, like superstar scoring in points. Get your buckets, you know what I mean? And if
Hmm.
it's basketball, get your buckets, whatever. But also like just know you can impact in other ways. You can impact by communicating really well. People are all you're gonna get on the court more because they know people can trust you in ball screens. They can trust you to be on help side because they can hear you. And
Hmm.
so it's things like that that just help you be a well-rounded basketball player and help you impact like immediately. Even if you whatever minutes you do have, whether you're starting or coming off the bench, like there it's how you show up. And if you continue to tie your identity to like minutes or points or things like that, you're going to have a very hard career. You're going to have a very hard time ever feeling proud of yourself. You're going to have a very hard time, feeling like you're making progress because you cannot control how long you get in the game. You cannot control how many minutes you put up. But I promise you, the things that are intangible that you invest in will more than likely yield in a bucket. They'll more than likely yield in more minutes because this is the way it works.
Right, right. And making most of the time that you get, right? Whether
Uh huh.
that is, and if it's not scoring, okay, you're busting your ass to
Hmm.
get back on defense. You're getting
Hmm.
rebounds. You're cheering for your teammates. You're reminding your younger players where they need to be, or if they have
Hmm.
questions, being open and honest on how to answer them, and just like being a good teammate. Like that
Hmm.
matters. It's not just about scoring. I mean, the stat book doesn't show everything.
Hmm.
The pluses and minuses do not show everything. They don't show how hard you're going in practice, what you're doing behind the scenes to help with your team. Like I had teammates come over my apartment all of the time to help with their homework. Like I was making
Hmm.
sure my teammates were eligible. That is how I was contributing to my team whenever I
Yeah.
wasn't getting the minutes I thought that I deserved. But I was
Hmm.
doing everything that I could to make sure that, hey, if I can make my team successful, even if I'm not on the stat book, I want to do that. Right. That's just being a good human and thinking outside of yourself. If you could do that, then I feel like you're gonna go far. Um, Another thing I would say to what you were saying, you're talking primarily about basketball, right? But
Hmm.
like outside of that, with identity, you were talking about how makeup, faith, everything outside of basketball that kind of built the character that you have. Um, from a teammate's perspective too, I think a really good thing to remind your teammate that might be trapped in a sports centered identity is, like, of
Hmm.
course, remind them that they are a human being first before they are an athlete,
Hmm.
and that comes with taking care of their bodies.
Hmm.
um, I think a lot of the time we stress that playing through injuries is really really good, and we don't take care of ourselves. And then of course a lot of the time you have coaches that want you to play through injuries and not necessarily taking your injuries very seriously, and then you are left with surgeries post college, or you have bad knees, bad shoulders, whatever it may be, because you just didn't
Hmm.
take proper care of yourself. I think that
Hmm.
that's important. Just recognizing, okay, I'm a human being first, and I have a life to live outside of my sport. That's 4 or 5 years, unless I'm
Yeah.
doing it professionally.
Yeah.
Um, and then another thing I think is important to note is, I mean, especially when you're playing in college, right? I mean, it's, of course, playing college sports is a full time job, but I think what helped me a whole lot was having hobbies outside of sports, and
Yeah.
that's really hard to do too, because like
It
you've been
is.
playing
You have
all
no
these,
time.
you have no time too, but you also
Yeah.
don't have the time to figure out what you like and what you don't like.
Hmm.
And so that is difficult on its own. So one of the things I did is my last 2 years at my third school, I had what was called I called it my sanity jar, and I put a bunch of activities on a piece of paper that I had never done before, and to figure out if I liked them or if I didn't like them, just like fun little, like, karaoke, wine tasting, go kayaking, go fishing on my kayak, whatever it was, right? And I put them all on this little jar and I'd shake it up. And once a week, I'd make sure that I do one thing to get me out of my comfort zone. And so, like, those are little things that you force
So
yourself to
good.
do. So,
Hmm.
outside of your sport, okay, now I know I really like karaoke, or I like going out on my kayak and going out in the middle of the ocean, just being at peace, you know? Like, those are things that you can do outside of your sport just to fill your bucket in a different way, especially if you're not producing the way you want to on the court. You have a
Hmm.
sense of peace and happiness when you go home.
So true.
Like and making friends outside your sport will
Oh
help
my
you
gosh,
do that too.
yes. Oh my gosh, I have to. This is so important, Nicole. That's so important because like your teammates are amazing, but also, and sometimes they're not. But um, you're with them all the time.
Right.
Like you're like depending on your schedule, you wake up in the morning, you have weights with them, you practice them, you're likely eating together in some facet.
You live with them.
You live with them. Like sometimes it's just like you want to unplug from
Oh
like
yeah.
just the same type of environment. So um having a NARP friend, Peyton, that's a
Oh,
non-athletic regular person. Um
I love NARPs.
I
Love
love
them.
NARPs. They're the best. Like
They're the
they
best.
remind you that you're a human. You walk outside
Yes.
and like, oh, you see your friend from like class or whatever, and you're like, hey girl, what you doing? She's like, girl, I just took a nap. They don't know what's going on inside those four walls, inside the court
Uh
that you just ran your guts out and threw up on the baseline. They don't know
huh.
that.
They don't know.
They're and I almost would sometimes envy them because I'm like, you ignorance truly is bliss because you have no idea what I'm doing to go to school here.
Uh huh. Like
You don't
you
know what
don't know
I'm
my.
doing.
It would make me mad though when a NARP would be like, "Oh yeah, I'm tired, girl. You don't know what the word tired means." But
What are you
I
talking from?
appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, I appreciate your truth.
Yeah, that's your truth. I'm gonna let you live it. But let me tell you about my day.
Mm-hmm.
And like the one thing I love about NARPs and their perspective is like a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes with college sports. There's a lot of things that are pretty unethical. I mean, we kind
Mm-hmm.
of talked a little bit about, you mentioned incompetent coaches or some teammates that you don't
Mm-hmm.
like, people that you don't vibe with, or just there are a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that just, if people talked about more,
Mm-hmm.
would be newsworthy kind of things. And then like
Yes.
you go to your NARP and you're kind of unplugging and you're expressing to them, they remind you like that what you're going through, yo, whoa, that's
It's
not
not
okay.
normal. It's
That's not
not normal.
normal. That's not okay.
Yeah.
But if you go and talk to your teammates about that, like we're all kind of conditioned into thinking like, oh, that's just a part of it. That's just, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
But in reality, in any other business sense, if you're like in a workplace environment where the NARPs would be, or like a school environment that's not athletics, they'd sit
Yeah.
back and go, okay, well, you need to talk to somebody about this because this is not okay. And people
Yeah.
need to be held accountable. So I loved talking to NARPs about sports related things that I knew that
Mm-hmm.
were unethical and wrong. And my feelings being more validated by NARPs than they were within the athletic community because the
Yeah.
NARPs were not conditioned in the way we were and my friends were, my teammates were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I feel like that conditioning once you step out of the matrix, I guess, is kind of it makes you realize, like you said, how wild and insane it actually is. And you can't believe that they give you the perspective like, wow, like that really is either insane, illegal, or just straight on delusional. Like it's
Abusive.
abusive. Like it's not
Yeah.
okay. And I feel like when you talk about like how much a coach can really influence your career or what impact they can have on your career, I think it's the two sides of the extreme. Like
Hmm.
my high school coach, who I remember when I was deciding if I wanted to play basketball for real and get the scholarship, and really grind for it. She had a talk with me. And she sat down, and she just really care for me as a person. Were her ways also insane and crazy? Yes, but under it, I could always tell she like cared for me for a person. She'd drive me home after practices. Like
Yes.
like she would. She got to know my communication style. That's how you show care in a relationship where there is, you know, leadership and authority. And so when I got to college, and both of my college experiences, one of the hardest lessons I learned was that authority and leadership are not the same thing. they're not equal. Just because someone has power over you, it doesn't mean that they get to define your value. It doesn't mean that they get to tell you who you are. And I think a lot of times coaches abuse that power. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that they are not aware of how detrimental or how exponentially great their impact on someone's career can be, and I think that too many coaches are reckless with that power, and it makes me so sad to see, some of my friends and old teammates maybe transition out of basketball because of that, not on their own accord. And I think that it's something that should be talked about more because, you know, it's really, I don't know, it gets really deep because when you look even back in the years, like when my sister was in college or like, the Pat Summitt era, things were worse and worse and worse, like even more illegal, even more abusive, even more, you know what I'm saying? And you look at some of those players and they kind of just like laugh about it, And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like with our generation, it's kind of like, we're not putting up with that. Like
Yeah.
we don't put up with that. And I feel like, looking back, you know, basketball wise, Lipscomb was a very difficult environment because I was navigating not only just faith, but I was also navigating like um, social constructs, the idea of, being in a private white PWI that was Christian, so to
Mm-hmm.
speak. And, it, there were so many factors that were affecting my experience. And at the time, when you're in it, you can't really see the lesson. You can't really see like why you're going through that. But I'm grateful for the experience because it forced me to build a mental toughness. It forced me to find my people who actually supported and loved me. And it like forced me, it encouraged me to have a relationship with God that wasn't dependent on circumstances. And it wasn't dependent on um, you know, whether or not I'd get yelled at that day, or whether or not I would, be reprimanded for something stupid.
Right.
And I don't know. I think that I'm so happy. Like I think that now I'm able to have joy in my experience, and I'm able to see some of the fruits of my labor and my resilience. But it's that sliver of faith and that sliver of God's like intervention that has kept me keep playing versus stopping playing.
Right.
And the coach who almost broke my confidence and ended up breaking my career ended up strengthening my identity, which is like, that's how God works. He never makes your pain in vain. He never makes what you go through just be for nothing. And because she could affect my circumstances, but she couldn't determine my worth or my career. She couldn't put a period on the end of my sentence. And I thank God that I was able to reclaim my narrative. And, one thing that I was always told is like, I should never shoot threes. I should never shoot threes. Like, Dorie, get on the block, like, stop shooting threes. And I was like, I was working out with my brother who he played for the Pacers for a very long time, and he was working
Mm-hmm.
me out. And he was like, we were just playing around, like, getting some work in. And he goes, Dorie, why don't you shoot threes? And I was like, I don't really know. Like, I was told I can't shoot threes. Like, I'm not allowed to. And
Uh-huh.
he literally made me stand at half court. And I started under the basket and I was doing form shooting. And I walked all the way dang near to half court and I was barely jumping and I was shooting threes. So he was like, this is easy for you. Like, I don't know why you're not shooting threes. And
Yeah.
so once I got a taste of that, I'm like, wow, like this could be a part of my game. And I expanded that. And I saw how quickly the stretch four was becoming valuable, like in the W, like when I was watching the games, my sister's a stretch four. And
Yeah.
so I started to expand that. And, one time I did that during a game, it got hurt and I was, screamed at.
I was there.
Yeah, I was screamed out and almost kicked out the locker room because I shot a three. And it's so funny because now I just had my best season of AU, and it's because I went almost perfect from the 3-point line, and we won the game. So
Uh-huh.
it's just funny how like when someone has authority over you, how they feel that they can control you, or they want to put you in this box, and they don't have enough care or, you know, really insight or ability to see you outside of how they've always seen you. And it's really unfortunate because there are so many amazing basketball players out there whose talent and confidence is being trampled on by an incompetent coach.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I completely agree with you. You weren't allowed to shoot threes, but we were shooting threes 6 feet behind the 3 point line and expecting to win games whenever we weren't being consistent 6 feet behind the 3 point line. But that's none of my business. And then not pass to the post players. It's okay. It's none of my business. It's none of my business. It's fine. It's fine. It's cool. I'm over it. But going back, I'm over it. It's totally fine. Going back to what you were saying, right? Having a coach that pretty incompetent, and I do feel like coaching in this generation has become a very prideful profession, in the sense that you have a lot of coaches that don't like being held accountable, or do feel like they are experts in the sense that they are not above learning anything else, right? They think that there's nothing else to be learned. So they take what their perspective is and try to put other players in a box. And your job as a coach is not to put somebody in the box and tell them, okay, you can't shoot threes, you can't do this, you can't do that. Your job as a coach is to teach and expand your team and expand growth within individual players to support the holistic team, right? So like, if you have a player that wants to shoot threes or wants to get better at that, okay, well then I feel like the opportunity should be made, if that's something that can help the team, okay, let's create an avenue to where that is something that we can support you in, and you become a better addition to our team through that. Like, it's not their job to put you in a box and limit you. Limiting is not a part of coaching. You shouldn't limit the growth of your team based on a prideful sense of, I know the best way possible and I'm above learning anything new, because the game is always changing. The game is always developing. So that means your mindset should be developing. We talk about basketball players needing to be students of the game and learning from their coaches. Well, too, coaches should remain being students of the game. Right? Everything is changing. The way we play, the way we perform, everything is changing. So no one's above learning anything else, And I think when we become prideful in our craft, and I'm saying prideful in a negative way, in that it's like egotistical kind of pride, like you're above learning, I feel like that limits you as a coach, and thereby limiting your team. So like that's frustrating, and I think that's where a lot of incompetence comes from.
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like coaching has become very prideful, and it's very rare to find a coach that is confident enough in their coaching ability without being so prideful that they're hard-headed and like immovable, and like they don't adapt. So it's very rare when you find that combination. And unfortunately, I haven't experienced that, but I feel like I have seen players' lives and careers flourish when they do have that type of environment. Like I think about the South Carolina players all the time, and Coach Staley, and like how much like and mind you, I'm not saying that hard coaching is bad for mental health. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If I'm not doing something, you can yell at me and tell me what to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, I want to be coached. Like, Dawn Staley's not taking it easy on her players, but she's also not, limiting them. I feel that some of the teammates that I've had who've played for her have always talked about how she really goes above and beyond to support them as a well-rounded person in their faith, and on the court, off the court, all those things. And I love that for them. And it's so interesting, and not a lot of people talk about, maybe there are players early on in her career when she was coaching who didn't have that experience, because Dawn was just starting coaching, you know what I'm saying? And so as coaches grow, I guess the programs grow, and they're able to impact their players even better. But what is unacceptable is when a coach refuses to admit their ignorance and refuses to acknowledge it and, you know, is negatively impacting the people around him. That is like the most irresponsible thing I could ever think of. You know, and the Bible actually talks about teachers. Like, teachers will be judged even more by the Lord because you're being commissioned, you're in a position and you're spreading information. So if you're not doing your due diligence and doing it with care and doing it with honesty and doing it the proper way, like, you're going to be judged 10 times more because you're teaching people and people are under your care. They're under your, you know what I mean? They're receiving the information you're saying and they're believing it as true. They're like, okay, like, this is what we're doing. So if you, as a coach, if you're not doing the due diligence to have that self-awareness, everybody around you is negatively impacted. The program's negatively impacted. The players of the other coaches are negatively impacted, you know, from the trainers, and it stems from you. So it's like, I think that's why, you know, but also it's like, it's two-part ways. Like, you know, the coaches can only do so much. And then that's when the players decide, okay, what is this going to look like for me? Like, am I about to buy into this? You know, all those things. And I feel like, in this day and age, I feel like, coaches are still prideful, but they can't get away with it as easily because the players, you know, are creating petitions and, you know, writing dissertations and suing, and
They're
as they
advocating for
should,
themselves.
they're advocating for themselves. And I absolutely love to see that wave of, you know, just self-respect from the players and realizing that's okay. And also it's about having people around you that can tell you, like, hey, like, that's not normal, or like, hey, like, this doesn't sound like she really cares about your career, or like is really putting your best interest in mind. So I feel like it's always bothered me when it comes to coaching. It's like, how can you hold me accountable for something? Oh, I didn't do a rebound, or I didn't sprint the line, whatever. But I can't hold you accountable when you messed up and you subbed wrong, or you called the wrong play, or we should have been a man when we were in zone. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's such a downfall of that relationship, that dynamic. And it really, it keeps the players stuck because they're not really able to think through the game because they've been told you can't correct, you can't, you know, you can't be involved in that decision-making process, when it's like, that's really what, as a coach, if you're smart, you want your players not to necessarily tell you what to do, but you want their input because they're seeing things on the court that you can't see. So it's like their input is so much more valuable. And then that's when you work towards, okay, like, you know, if you have a crazy shooter, you know, just one shooter on the team that's like scoring all the points, and, you know, maybe they have they're playing small ball, you know, and you're a man and you keep getting caught in the screen. Either you adjust and you go over the screen, and if you can't fight over the screen, and then maybe the assistant coach is saying go zone, but the players are saying no, like, I cannot contest this shot. You collaborate, and now we go boxing one. A great combination of one-on-one with the shooter, so she can't catch off the ball, and you can even pass off if she's like running around.
Right.
And then the zone is going to take care of the rebounding zone is going to take care of, you know, protecting the penetration. So it's like, it's things like that where basketball can really be this beautiful, there could be so much beauty in the adjusting and the positioning if coaches were like less prideful and actually listen to their players and not think they know everything under God's green earth.
Right. And I think a lot of that comes from having the ability to share their vulnerability. It's vulnerable to admit that you're wrong, right? And that's scary. But I think you have to take yourself outside of yourself there for a second and be like, okay, well, I'm a human being too. Even though I'm a coach, I'm a human being and I make mistakes. Just because I'm a coach doesn't mean I know, like you said, I know everything on God's green earth. I'm above reprimand. I do everything right. Like, obviously you don't, right? So when a player sees a coach be vulnerable and admit then they're wrong, or even apologize, or that makes me love you more it makes me feel like, okay, you care, and I will run through a wall for you,
I
because
have way
that's one of
more
the things I,
respect for you.
yeah, I respect you
Yeah.
more because you have the ability of going outside yourself and having an ego death there, and admitting you're wrong, and I respect you more. And that's one of the things I love about Dawn. I love
Mm-hmm.
Dawn Staley too, because the way her players talk about her is
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, because
Mm-hmm.
they really will run through a wall for her, because she treats them like human beings before they are athletes, and that's something other coaches need to take notes on. Like, they
Yeah.
will do anything for her because Dawn in turn treats them like they're human. And at the
Mm-hmm.
end of the day, everyone on a very human level just wants to be treated like they are loved, and nobody wants to
Mm-hmm.
be treated like a piece of meat used for capitalism and winning games and making money. I want to know that you care about me as a human, and it makes
Mm-hmm.
me feel like you care about me as a human whenever you are able to go outside of yourself and be vulnerable with me in turn.
Yeah. I feel that.
Yeah. Sorry, that went on a tangent in there, but like that,
It's true.
as coaches, I mean, when we talk about when coaches want their players to buy in, I will
Mm-hmm.
buy in to your program and everything that you say. I will eat all of that up when I know that you care about me outside of just being a basketball player. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
want to win games just as much as you, but
Mm-hmm.
I will accept instruction even more. I will go put that 10% extra effort in every single ball when I know, hey, this coach cares about me too as a human being, and
Mm-hmm.
I want to win for him. I want to win for her, because
Mm-hmm.
they're vulnerable with me and they want it just as much as me, and I love that.
Mm-hmm. And I think it gets it's also a notoriety thing of it too. Like, I think unfortunately, a lot of people haven't had many things go well for them in their life, and when they finally get a piece of power or authority, they abuse it. And it's not fair to the people that are affected by it. But I feel like there is hindsight for that. And I'm so grateful for NIL now, because players are not putting up with that. I think in turn that
Yes.
creates a less resilient player, if I'm being really, really honest. Not that
Right.
you shouldn't stick through or like have to endure abuse or disrespect. Like, you know what I'm saying? That is the
Yeah.
line is crossed. But when it comes to adversity, like I feel that, depending on the situation, right? You should try to see it through. If you can get to the other side of that, like, you should try to see it through. But now with like NIL and like how much money these players are making, like, they don't have to put up with anything. Like, the coach could talk to,
Right.
and the coaches are becoming scared. They're becoming scared of the players now, because you say one thing wrong with them now, trying to coach them or whatever, and it's your star player or
Boom.
whatever.
Portal.
I'm gone.
Yeah.
I'm gone. I'm overly gone in the portal. So I feel like now it feels kind of good to have the players in the position of power,
Mhm.
because um, they're getting paid just as much, if not more, than the coach. And I feel like for a winning program, everyone has to benefit. And I feel like for so long, it's been the opposite. The players have just constantly suffered. We weren't getting paid. Obviously, like, thank God for scholarships. We weren't getting paid, but we weren't in debt. But we weren't getting paid, so we were just at
Yeah.
zero. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah.
like, so. Um, and now, coaches would use even that to like have some sort of power over you. They would, take you to lunch, or like, things like that, to try to get you
Mhm.
to listen to them. And now it's like, you really can't tell me anything. You really can't influence my decisions, because I have enough money and influence to make this go my way. And
Mhm.
I'm loving that shift.
Me too. And I love athletes talking about their experiences on social media, whether that be good
Hmm.
or bad. I
Hmm.
feel like, I mean, if there's one thing a coach doesn't like, it's pressure, and
Hmm.
feeling outside pressure from like the news or like
Hmm.
social media that paints them in a bad light. I mean, that's a very quick way to change your behavior. And
Yeah.
I'm really proud of young women going on social media and expressing, okay, well, this is what happened to me, and I now know it's not normal, and I'm wondering if other people have felt this way, or things have been done to them, because it's not normal and it should be changed. So,
Yeah.
I mean, and to we talk about athletes getting paid and we have the portal, but on the mid-major level and even like of course like Division 2, Division 3 NAIA, like
Mhm.
they don't necessarily have those opportunities as big like
Mhm.
big schools do. And
Mhm.
so I'm hoping that people that aren't getting paid as much or at all are creating a narrative on social media and getting notoriety where they can and their stories out, even if
Mhm.
they're not able to transfer to a better situation, but they're able
Right.
to hopefully hold people accountable in a sense of creating a dialogue and people rallying around them in that respect.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. You know
Yeah.
what I love? I when I think about like pro basketball at this level overseas and obviously the W, I'd like to see players who are very vocal about their faith because it really does show that I feel like in every profession, like there's people who got there because, you know, maybe not they didn't necessarily do all the right things, but they were in the right place at the right time,
Mhm.
and they don't really attain their success to God, or you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they're just they are very self-serving,
Yeah.
and in turn they may be successful, right? Money,
Yeah.
fame, whatever, however you define success. And I feel like there's always another lane of people in any industry that like are successful, and it is a product. It's a product of God because they weren't supposed to be there, and they open
Mhm.
their mouth and they share their testimony, and it's like I feel so much more connected to those players. Like I loved hearing Haley Van Lift speak. Um,
Yes.
there's a player on the Pacers. His name's Oscar. He's a great. He loves the Lord. And I love hearing his testimonies, and I'm part of his like little Bible study on Instagram that he does, and I just think it's so refreshing. Oh, what's the other player who was in the championship? He wore 99, and he said it's because Jesus went after the 99, and he didn't really play all season, and then he got in and like went on a run and helped them win.
The men's championship.
Yes, we need to do some research on the back end. But I
Okay.
remember seeing that story, and it just really spoke to me because I think that when you are trusted with a platform, and God can trust you with the platform, he can trust you with the resources, he can trust you with the care to take care of people around you, right? Be a good teammate.
Right.
You know what I mean? And some people that go into coaching, be a good coach. Like if he can trust you with his people, and he enlarges your territory. And so that's why it's so much deeper than basketball and just like putting a ball through the hoop. Basketball really is like the ultimate life teacher. And like I feel that I feel that it's all coming together. Anytime
Right.
I've been in a situation where I couldn't believe, like at Lipscomb, you know, let me say, at Lipscomb, I suffered 3 concussions, and they were like back to back to back, and it took me so long to recover from them. And
Mhm.
to this day, my mom, she tells me, she's like, that's a sign that you're not supposed to be in an environment. If you keep getting sick in that environment, or you keep getting hurt in that environment, or you keep getting, like things are just
Yeah.
going well, that's just a sign that your body's saying, like, you're not supposed to be here.
Mhm.
And those concussions were like so hard on me. Like I had to learn how to like walk and balance again. And I still have like some photosensitivity issues sometimes with my eyes. I had to learn how to speak again because like my speech was off. This concussion was really bad, and I was like, I hated that I got hurt there. You know what I mean? Like, because it wasn't
Yeah.
even worth it to me. It was like, this is not the way I want this to go, like at
Right.
all. Like, and then for me to be hurt right now, and like me not even feel any like purpose here is sucked. It really, really sucked. And so that was one of the first seasons in my life where I started to shift like the question of like, you know, why did this happen to me? Like, why did this happen to me? Like, I was just getting some momentum. For you, it's like, maybe your knee, and like once you just started feeling healthy, like you felt like it was something else, you know? And
Yeah.
it's always something else. And I felt like the where in seasons where I felt like my biggest obstacle was really an injury, um, you know, I had the time to really reframe things and like not be so focused on why me or like why this happened to me, and reframe it to be like, who am I becoming? And like, who is God calling me to become? Or who does He want me to be on the other side of this injury? Because I'm telling you, it's like, it's not about the injury. It is, but it isn't. I know like that's a very real thing. And a lot of people's careers have been stopped because of injury. And
Yeah.
it's like anatomically, like it's, not viable for them. But outside of that, it's like, sometimes for me, at least in my experience, when I'm going and I feel like I'm like in this grind or whatever, I get so laser focused and I can forget the things that really got me there, or
Yeah.
I can really like get out of the routine that got me there. And it's like, I feel like God stopped me from becoming one of those people that are successful because they willed it, or because they they kicked everyone down along their way, or what I'm saying. He stopped me from
Yeah.
becoming that, because our human nature is to and it's actually sick. I was thinking about this the other day. It's like, if no one really had eyes, like if you couldn't really see anybody, how much of the good that you do would you do? Like if you're at the grocery store and nobody could see if you put the cart back or not, would you do it? Or like,
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I wonder. We were talking about this the other day, and it's like, that's so interesting, because it's like, you know, where our motives are, our human nature and our brains are designed to seek comfort, to seek shortcuts, to seek, pleasure over pain, it's to feel comforted. So I feel like when I've been injured with my concussion or ACL or what have you, it's like I'm I can find myself slipping back into the comfortability. It's like, okay, like I'm just gonna, get through the injury and like that'll be it. And not taking the time to do the hard things, which is like wake up every morning despite of how I'm feeling, and pray and do my Devo, and like, what I'm saying? Like stick to the things I know that are they're gonna make the injury worth it, or make the downtime that I was forced to have worth it. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
not squander it with like, watching a million Netflix shows or not doing anything to really like come out on the other side of it, like more mentally tough. So I'm trying to see like injuries as a blessing, but it's really, really hard. And I know, like how it
Yeah.
feels to just like run out of options. I know how it feels to like, I wish I could, you know, give myself another chance. Like this is, and it feels even more messed up when you feel like were in an environment where it could have gone differently, and you feel like the people or the resources around you weren't adequate enough to support you in what you needed. And
Right.
I feel like in those times it makes everything kind of feel like a big slap to the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because especially, I don't know. At least when it was one, like in college, it was a one thing when I got hurt and I was like, I can't contribute. But overseas, like in professional now, it feels like when I got hurt, it's like, y'all wasn't really doing shit for me anyway. Like, why did I, you know what I mean? Why did I put my body
Yeah.
on the line? Like, why did I do that?
Yeah.
And it really, like, that perspective really made me stop and think, like, basketball, like continuing basketball is not, like, passion alone is not enough. I learned that right after college. Like, passion alone is not enough. You can't just want it. Like, there has to be a purpose attached to what I do, because this shit is hard. Like,
Yeah.
it's really hard. I know you know that. I'm just like, it sounds so simple and cliche, and I'm sure people are thinking like, duh. But it's like, sometimes I think about it. Like sometimes I sit and think about like how much, how much we've put our bodies through. Like,
Yeah.
just to like wake up every day and like bounce a ball. Is that not insane?
For what? Dude, let me tell you. So I had surgery I had surgery in May. 2 years
Mm-hmm.
post basketball from a basketball injury, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I've been playing for 2 years, and then boom, I had this massive cyst reappear. on
Wow.
my knee, and I had to get it removed because I was told that, if I keep it there, it'll affect the way I walk and just my
Mm,
mobility overall. And
yeah.
then they took the cyst out and everything, and they told me, dude, you have grade 2 arthritis, or grade 3, borderline grade 3 arthritis. And it's just like, I'm 25.
Yeah.
What do you mean I have arthritis? Like, I have the knees of a 65-year-old, which is crazy, all because of basketball. And it was
Yeah.
just like, okay, now I have to deal with this kind of stuff the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And so I understand, and it's a lifelong commitment you make with your body, because
Yeah.
there are going to be repercussions for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true. And that's what you said too. Like a big part about like player advocacy is about resting and recovering well too, and
Mhm.
advocating for yourself to rest. But like that's really hard sometimes. I think even harder overseas because I think college you don't realize once you're out until you're out of it. It's such a bubble. Like it's a
Mhm.
bubble, and you're like you see the same people, you do the same things. It's just like you're in this your own little world. But like overseas, it's hard because it's like they don't want you to rest. Like they don't want you to rest. They'll do anything. They'll say anything. They really won't do anything, but they'll say anything to like get you to play, even if you're injured. You know. And sometimes it's really unfortunate because people will come, like they'll get signed to a contract, you're doing really well, get injured, and then like get cut, you know?
Yeah.
And depending on the contract, depending on the country, that team may or may not be liable for your injuries. So you just paid to play. You just paid
Yeah.
you just paid to have surgery to get, you know what I'm saying? Like you're paying for that now. And
Yeah.
it's like it's really tough, and I don't I don't wish that on my worst enemy, like injury. I was thinking about LeBron earlier this year. Like I kept thinking about him during AU this year. It's like the reason one, like he's 41 hooping, like still hooping,
Yeah.
doing insane things he was doing as a teenager. And I think of obviously he's insanely talented and like amazing. But a big reason why he's been able to continue that progress because he's always stayed healthy and available. Because I saw somewhere he spends like how much, like 500K or something like that on his recovery every year.
Wow.
Yeah, from like massage therapists to all that. Like like, and obviously he has the capital to do so, right? But
Uh-huh.
like the way he has invested in his body has kept him healthy and available. And sometimes like that's really the difference between like getting a certain contract or not, or like,
Right.
playing X amount of minutes and not. It's like because we really have to, and I'm getting better at this too, but like resting and like sitting down when it's time to sit down. Because when it's time to get up, you're gonna get up. When it's time to grind, like you're gonna grind. So it's like why am I like worrying myself and trying to do all these extra workouts when I'm supposed to be sitting down? This
And
is a
I
message to all y'all out there. Sit your ass down. Take a
Yes.
nap.
Go to sleep.
Go to
Go to
sleep.
sleep.
Go to
Go to
bed.
sleep. Dude, get your 8 hours in. You're gonna need it. You're gonna need it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that goes too with the conditioning, that we're not supposed to rest, that grind culture kind of thing. Like every day,
Yeah.
grind, 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 grind. Like I can't afford to rest because my competition is not resting.
Mm-hmm.
They should be resting because they're not going to be able to make it throughout their season without getting hurt.
Yes.
Because their bodies
Yeah.
are exhausted and can't do it anymore. And that goes into your conditioning. You're not supposed to prioritize your body. You're supposed to prioritize winning games over yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Dorie, before we let you go, because this is going to be the last thing we probably talk about, as you know, or you may know, we are partnered with No Solo, and No Solo is a mental health advocacy brand, clothing brand, and they're partnered with us, and we absolutely love them. No Solo is really cool because 20% of the proceeds that they get goes to the No Solo Give Back Foundation, which funds mental health initiatives around the globe. And Dorie, we
Nice.
want to send you home with some No Solo stuff, and so we'd be really happy to ship you out some stuff and get some cool stuff. I'm repping No Solo all the time. I absolutely love them. They're
That's
they
a
just
cool hoodie.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. John, Sarah, you're amazing. We love it so much, and so we want to send you home with some stuff. And for the rest of y'all watching, if you use promo code Backcourt on No Solo's website, you'll get 20% off your order. So, like I said, Dorie, we're gonna send you some stuff so you can rock out with us and advocate for mental health because that is something that we are really focused on here, and so we just want you to share in that.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be a part, and I'm super excited to rock the merch. I'm all for it.
Amazing. Okay. All right. Well, that's it for our show, guys. Please remember that that's it for our show, guys. Please remember that no matter where you are in your journey, you are more than enough always. Thank you again, Dorie.
Thank you for having me. Bye, guys.